Hi, today we're talking about what makes a good nursery investment. And I think that in reality, that question is a bit, well, it depends. What is it you're looking for within a nursery? If it is that you're looking at the financials, then actually that may be slightly different answer to if it is you're purely looking for a particular type of nursery or particular ethos. However, as a buyer, there'll be key things you'll be looking out for when you look at nurseries as to whether they are a good investment going forward. So the key thing, of course, is EBITDA. This is a acronym that you're going to hear all over the place. It stands for earnings before interest, tax, depreciation and amortization. In layman's terms, what it is it's the true profitability of the business. And that's the key thing. So when you're sitting there looking at a set of accounts, the accounts will show the profit as it applies to that particular owner. There'll be things in there that aren't actually true business costs. You're looking actually to make sure that there's a good level of EBITDA within the business. If it is that you're struggling to understand EBITDA, reach out to us, talk to me, talk to one of the buyer account managers who will be more than happy to talk you through it. And getting a working knowledge of that and whether it shows if a business is in fact profitable or not is going to be absolutely key in making sure that you can find and understand the nurseries that are for sale out there and whether they're right for you. However, it doesn't always just come down to money. Is a nursery a good investment? You always need to look at things like demographics. Is it in an area where there is a high need? Now, actually, in reality, most areas of the country at the moment have a high need for childcare. But there's some areas where actually maybe people have been moving out and not been raising young children there. So it's something to have a think about that actually maybe just because you live in an area, it doesn't necessarily mean that there is a need for childcare there. And you want to look a bit further afield and make sure that actually competition-wise, there's a good level of competition. If it is that you've got lots of sustained nurseries that have all been there for a long time, the chances are there is still a need within that area. You can also reach out to local authorities and see what the need is like from their perspective. Though I imagine they will always tell you they need more providers because that tends to be their standard response. There is also things like investment in property. So some people will insist that they want to buy a freehold. They want to put their money into bricks and mortar. Now, for a first-time buyer, that may actually be a little bit tricky because, if you're already spending money on the business, you might not be able to afford the freehold as well. Don't feel like you have to put investment into bricks and mortar in order to secure a business. It's nice to be king of your own castle, but actually, as far as the business is concerned, as long as you have a long-term lease, it gives you that security of tenure. The key thing is making sure that the business has a long-term basis there and can continue running. And if you have a 25-year lease, that is actually just as good as a freehold as far as most banks are concerned. Once you've kind of got the big stuff, you also want to be looking at the nitty-gritty. So you do want to be having a good look at occupancy. Again, you've looked at the area and worked out that there is a need there for childcare. What's the occupancy within this particular nursery? If it's a bit lower than maybe you'd expect it to be, is there a good reason behind that? Has someone capped the numbers because maybe they didn't want the hassle of finding extra staff? Or is there something within the setting that maybe means that they're not getting the numbers through? Is there the fact you're going to need to invest in advertising? Or is it that you need to rejig the rooms because the numbers are a bit off and you're trying to fill a preschool room in an area where most kids have already gone off to school? It's always worth looking at things like that to make sure that these are in place. And it also ties back to things like staffing. Is it a good investment if you can keep and maintain staff in this setting? If there's a reason why they've been turning over staff quite regularly, this is going to affect your ratios and it's something you need to know about. If it is that there is a group nursery just around the corner that keeps nicking all the staff for an extra 20p an hour, do you need to build that into your modelling to make sure that you can retain them for longer and make sure you're meeting those ratios? I do hope you found all that useful. If you have any questions, please drop them below and I'll see you again soon.